Hello everyone, I'm Armen. Thanks for joining me in my craft room today. If you are new here, welcome. I post card making tutorials and project inspiration videos. You can also find me on Instagram at ArmensCraftRoom, where I post card inspiration and the occasional bullet journal inspiration. I hope you enjoyed today's crafting session.
Alright, so today I thought we would go ahead and take the standard US A2 4¼ by 5½ inch greeting card and turn this into a fun fold. Probably also interactive. Why would I want to do that after this card is complete? Because we have somebody at work that we want to send a nice card to, and I work remotely, and one of the things I like to do is collect comments from the people on the team. And then I print them out on my Cricut with different color pens and different fonts and have the Cricut cut them out. So I've got a bunch of these to go. And as you can see, this pile of sentiments is not going to fit into this little card. So since this little card front is pretty perfect for the occasion, felt like it would just be best to add some additional cardstock to it and maybe some flip outs or pull outs or something along the line to enhance this and make it large enough to fit all the pre-printed Cricut sentiments. For those of you who want to try this for any occasion, really, like a large birthday party, like a big milestone birthday, I could see this being awesome for like 50 years old, 90 years old, big anniversary, like a 50-year anniversary, maybe you have like a retirement, something like that. You could make the card and just take it if you're in person and have people fill it out. The Cricut is a little extra. It's because we're all over the country. And the Cricut is going to add a couple hours of time to this card to get it all typed in, set up, and then print it out. Because it does actually write it in the pen. So I do have a prepared blank 5x7 card base. If you stamp the back of your cards with your name or a logo or something, you're going to want to do that before we start because it's going to be too bulky to do that in the end. And then of course we have the original A2 card as well. Because A2 horizontal, we're going to make the 5x7 horizontal, and I'd like to see if one of these can make a pull tab off the front. Perhaps maybe we have something squarish in shape, like this one could work. This one could work. So we really want, preferably, looking for long and narrow on this. I did cut them out in a bunch of different shapes just to give interest to the project. So I think we're going to go with this oval one. And I'm going to mount this on another sheet of cardstock, and we'll paste it underneath the A2 with a pull tab, and this A2 will be centered, and that way it will be something fun kind of in between the front and the back of the card. So as an A2, this is 4¼ inches by 5½ inches, and so I want to get about 4¼ to 4½ inches. I do want to have a little bit sticking out at the bottom that says pull so people know to use it. And I want to stick with this rich razzleberry color. Alright, so for rich razzleberry, I would rather cut this down than have it too short, so I'm going to go for 5 inches. And this width here, looks like we're at 1½ so I'm going to go 1 3/4 inches because I don't want a really big border. And we're going to take out a Cropodile Corner Chomper. I'm going to use the 1/2 inch on this one. So you just line up the corners of the slots, and it'll chomp it down for you. And I wanted to use this corner chomper because I had the Cricut cut out this oval, so it'll kind of stay, the rounded will just look a little bit nicer. It won't be the same shape, but it'll be a little more rounded. So we're gonna have to figure out where we're gonna set this. So I think first things first, let's get the 3D foam tape on the back of this so we know exactly how tall we're sitting. Now we're gonna have a track as well. this mat is a grid mat, so you can line it up and put a ruler out here. And with dark writing that everybody can see. Alright, so we've got our 5 1/4. So that's 2 5/8 is going to be the halfway point, which will be about here. So we're just going to eyeball it, and you can measure. We're going to measure cardstock to cardstock. That's 2 inches. Oh, way less than 2. Alright, this is about even. So I'm going to take this foam tape, got this rather centered, and I'm going to leave just a little bit of room around the edges because I don't want it to stick. Alright, so now we've got our track. Cut off the ends here and we'll just use them to seal up this section. Just, that's more for just like some stability down there. Alright, so we're going to keep all the foam on. So the mechanism will work like this. The card will be down. This is just going to be hanging out. We're going to have to trim this down. So we'll get the card centered. It's too big. That's okay. It's easy to trim off an inch or so. Then it'll just slide down like this. Now, the question is, I did put post-its on everything just to keep people's names private. Alright. So, thing with this is that this may actually be too long of a sentiment because you need this to pull out and you need to be able to see it. So we'd have to pull out quite a bit. And we'll put a stopper in. You know what? Alright. I think this will be the way to go here. We'll put these tweezers on, we'll slide it in. Alright, and so then we'll pull it. It's gonna be tight. So let's see if we can find another one that maybe has a little bit more white space. Alright, most unfortunately I have cut these extremely close, and although this one is shorter, that may actually bode well for this. Shorter and more the same shape. Alright, so alright, so I'm just sliding it in. It will stay hidden. And yeah, a little bit will stay there. Now, usually you'll put something in the track that would hold this. So I think let's, first of all, let's cut this down. And to see how far we want to cut it down. Alright, cards lined up. Ooh, I want to take about a ½ inch off because I'm going to round the corners and that's going to take more off of it. So, line it up here, ½ inch. And then again, we use the ½ inch mark on the chompers. Lining that up, and we'll just round the corners again, easy peasy. Okay. So now it should fit. There's just enough room. It's okay if it hangs slightly over the card. So this is going to be pretty bulky. And so if you're not giving this in person and you're shipping it, you want to make sure you have an envelope larger than the card that you're making. So this is a 5x7. I do have 6x9" envelopes. And usually when I make these cards with all the fun folds and flips where they look like a folio, it generally ends up taking a 6x9 card, and they generally weigh so much that in the US it's considered a package. So they run about $7 to $10 to ship. So keep that in mind. That includes the cost of like a padded envelope in the US, at least last year when I sent one. So it does add up. Okay, before we glue all this together, I'm going to use the My Favorite Things Interactive Labels stamp set. And I want to take the pull and the arrows. Okay, and pull, and then we'll do a down arrow. Alright, so this is a darker purple color, and to make this stand out, we'll be using the scrapbook.com premium pigment ink in white. It is going to take a few minutes to dry, so we're going to ink this and then we're going to move on to a different section of the card. Okay, a good smattering of ink on there, right at the bottom. Okay, there we go. Now, you can heat set this if you like. I'm not going to do that. I've got enough pieces, and then you just, the pigment ink, you really want to wipe the stamp off right away, because that stuff will create like a layer on your stamp and your impression won't be as good in the future. So definitely want to wipe it off right off the bat. And then we'll set these stamps aside and we'll move on towards setting up the rest of the card. So as you can see here, I do have some additional cardstock, and that's to decorate the card. Now I got a white border, so I'm going to leave a white border, but I want to add more of this rich razzleberry in on the 5x7 piece. So I have this nice, this is retired Stampin' Up! Rich Razzleberry designer paper. I love polka dots. So 5x7, we want to cut this 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. I'm just going to set all the cardstock aside here. Okay, so 4 3/4 by 6 3/4, and we're going to layer that right on the top of this 5x7, so don't worry about the dust, it's going to get covered with this paper. And this is not an interactive piece, it's decorative, so we don't need to use any type of fancy tape to hold it together. Just your standard adhesive will work. Alright, so then when this goes in, have a nice border. And this will probably be the last section that we adhere. I am going to put some cord, I believe. Cord would actually be rounded, so I'm going to use some very thin cord rather than twine. We're going to use this silver cord. It's 1 millimeter. So this pull tab, normally when I make one of these, I would have a channel, so it would have a slider piece attached on both sides, and it would go through an actual piece like this, but through the middle. So there's nothing here to stop it. You could just pull it out. So I actually want to add some cording to it, and to help keep it inside the card. Again, we'll pull out a Cropodile, and this does have some nice hole punches. I'm just going to use this 1/8 inch hole punch, and it's okay if it's not completely centered, people aren't going to see it. want to make sure I have more than the length of my card. Alright, so I'm just going to string these through, kind of like threading a needle. We'll put the two cut ends together, and we'll string it through from the back to the front. And then you pull up the loop, bring the strings through, and you'll get a nice little holder there. And then we'll give this a tie. So, alright, so that's not going anywhere. The glue will be an issue, so we're going to cut some of this glue off. I'll just take an X-Acto knife. And I'm going to make a really small cut around either side. And then we'll pull it up nice and cleanly. Okay. Always put the cap back on the blade right away. So now this gives us a little bit of room for this cording. And we'll have to figure out exactly how far we want to be able to pull it before we do anything with the other half. So, here, I think we'll be good. Alright, so figured it out where we're going to tape this down, just to be certain. We need about 3/4 of an inch space before the tag goes on. Of course, the post-it note won't be permanently on here, so that'll get removed after all the trials and stuff. Alright, so this would be the point here. So I'm going to make another knot. This one a bit thicker. So this is going to be my stopper. Okay. Oh, way too much came out. Okay. Alright. We want this much out. I'm going to mark this with some mint tape from scrapbook.com. And we'll just wrap this around it. All right. The mint tape will actually work nicely if we get something a little bit tighter in here. We cut a little bit too much off, but that's okay. So you can just pull that foam off, and we're going to put new foam on and get it closer to where the mint tape is so it'll catch. It's okay that this tore a little because it's the inside of the project. Nobody's going to see it. Okay, so I'm going to get really close. There we go. And then we're just not gonna waste this, we'll put it in the middle. Alright, so now we have to hide this cord. Okay. I think we'll want the stopper. And, yeah, there we go. The stopper a little bit further in. We're going to glue it down permanently when we decide where it's going to stay. Okay, and oh, there we go, we can see all the words now. And it is pretty much coming out of the track at that point. I'm going to take a little bit of glue, squeeze it in there. I want my taped up thread to stay. And just gonna trim off the extra. Okay, and this should lay flat. Now, so I want to pull off all the backing. Alright, so we'll lay that flat. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to hold it very carefully and go from this angle. Okay, so they'll open it, they'll have this pull tab, okay, and see how our ribbon stays and catches, and then they'll be able to open it. Alright, so that's the first one. Now just to get an idea for how much more space we have to add, I'm just going to put these down without any concern for how well they're fitting as far as like, we're going to add backing. So these would fit in there. Okay, and then on the inside, we're of course going to make this more decorative. Alright, at best, that's all that's fitting. So we're going to need quite a few more pages. Okay. So when you think about it, we've got basically another 5x7's worth of cards that we need. And we can absolutely fit this in. We're going to grab more white cardstock and we'll continue decorating this as we go. So I want to have some that flip out. We're going to score it 1 inch. Score well, and then we'll fold it. And definitely want a bone folder for the fun folds. Okay. So this will sit in here like this. It can also go on the back of the card. I prefer to keep it on the inside because then I can cover this up with something and it's not as obvious that it was glued in. If you do it on the back, you're going to end up with this, and so you probably want to cover the back with another sheet of paper to hide it. Let's say that we probably want to trim this about 3.5 inches from the score line. and let's make another one of these. Alright, so this sheet is 3 inches wide by 4.5. So we've got 3 inches wide, 4.5. And then remember, we scored it at 1. Okay. All right. So perfect. These are gonna butt into each other and fold. So this is 5 inches, so I want to make sure that I get these relatively even. There we go. As this one is going to be part of the fun fold, we want to use this really red sticky tape. It's going to hold the project better. People are going to flip this in and out probably many times. Really press it in. And that's for both flaps. So this is going to have like a gatefold on the inside. Okay. I like to use the pokey side of the tool-in-one from Spellbinders here to get in and lift off the paper. Should be about 1 inch up. And right on the edge of the card. And just make sure again. Yep, there's going to be a little bit of a gap, which is absolutely perfect. Again, I'm going to measure this 1 inch up from the bottom, and this is just to make sure that these doors are relatively even. Alright, almost. I do not get stuff level. Alright, so they will open a card, they'll have a pull tab, they'll open another card, and then they'll have 2 more opens here. I like to do these in rich Razzleberry, and they are 3.5 by 3. Okay, now I like the idea of opening these up and having this rich raspberry in here. We want to tie together all the different colors of the card into each segment so that it all coordinates. I'm going to recommend you decorate as you go. Because if you don't, you're going to end up layering things and then not being able to potentially cover the surface area you want with the color you want. So just lining it up here with the edges carefully. Alright. This one, you can see it went a little over, so just take some giant scissors, trim that off. Same with this one. Alright, so we're already bringing a lot more life to this card. do want to point out, if you use Stampin' Up! Designer Series paper, you will inevitably find a piece that has their Stampin' Up! Logo on it. If you don't want that showing, figure out how to hide it in your project. Put it somewhere where it's going to get covered in glue, or where it's going to be a little bit less obvious. And they do it on like every sheet of paper that's printed. Alright, that one wasn't quite cut right. You could have folded over the cardstock too if you wanted. That would also look nice. The ends would look much cleaner. Okay. Now every layer of card you want to add another round of going through and burnishing. This is a 5x7. So I'm going to cut a 5x7 out. This is Stampin' Up! Soft Succulent. And there we go. It should be a perfect fit. It's good. There's gonna be a little bit of a dip here, but we're gonna put enough stuff on it that I don't think it'll be noticeable in the end. If you're using something really thin like foiled paper, then I would suggest making this all the same height and depth before putting the foil down, because something really thin like foil will absolutely show it. Stampin' Up! Cardstock is pretty good quality, so it's not as obvious unless you run your hands over it. Okay, cut it a little close there on this side. And I want to do one hair less than 5x7 on the inside here. Because it's going to be really difficult to trim having put the pull tab in already. So it'll be just a smidge less than 5 inches. And the 7 wide is going to be accurate still. And the reason I did a little less is because we're making accommodations for this score line. And again, this is just background paper, so no need to worry about getting it with extra sticky tape or anything. Oh gosh, that was quite crooked. Shoot. Okay. Very carefully lift up that tab. This looks quite bad. Alright, so just carefully trim. Make sure you're not getting any of your fun fold pieces in the trim. It wouldn't be a handmade card by me if it weren't crooked. Who are we kidding? I don't think I've ever put anything level or straight. Alright, so we'll just burnish this back down. Alright, now, before we glue more stuff in, let's see. I haven't quite made another set of 5. We needed 2 more 5x7 panels, and we've made basically a 3x3.5. Yeah, 3x3 panels. So basically a 6x6. So if you were to size that out, I have a 3-inch panel. You should have 2 across, and then this would be 2 down because you're going to use both sides. So we would almost have enough. We need probably one more interactive feature. We'll just lay some things out. And this was just to get an idea of how short we are of papers to put this on. Okay, so really we need enough space for, looks like 4 of these, which could end up being, yeah, basically another round of interior card. So we'll go through and ideally match these at the very end so that they're all in the optimal placement, both by shape and color of font and whatnot. Alright, so we're gonna add, we could add something into here. It will be difficult to add more on here, but we could. We'll make a pocket. So again, we have 5.5 by 4.25. So I think I'm gonna make it about 3 high, which means I want 3.5 inches. I'm going to score at the 1/2 inch mark. Okay, so that's going to produce my 3 inches high, and then I have 5.5 wide, 6 inches total. And the reason we want to do 6 is because we're going to do 2 1/4 inch scores. Okay. So we're gonna fold these to make a pocket, and honestly, you want to cut from the corner into the center, and then a little bit more. So we'll do from corner to center, and then just an extra sliver. This is gonna make folding it better. On the side where it's a puffy fold, you want to fold inward. Okay, and I lied. We're gonna go ahead and trim them like this. And so when it's trimmed like that, you get a pocket that will lay flat. And you're going to want some sticky tape to hold this one on. So if you leave the release paper on, it's a little easier to trim it if it's a little wider than your, this is 1/4 inch tape, and we did a 1/4 inch score, so there's going to be slightly less than a 1/4 inch to put it on there. And then this is the 1/2 inch, same tape that we'll use with our 1/2 inch score. And we'll just want to cut the extra. This will ruin your card if you don't take the extra glue off. And yes, it would be easier if it was the correct size before you put it on. That can be difficult to find. These are non-stick scissors. They are actually pulling the glue off even though they're not taking the release paper. And the reason this is important is because when you fold this down, this is where the we're gonna put a sentiment in here, so you don't want it to be glued. You don't want it to end up glued down with the pocket. It needs to be able to pull out. So we'll just remove all the release paper. the challenge is getting this loaded. I'm going to do this upside down. You need to fold them and keep them folded. And then we made it basically the width of this card. So we want to put it right at the bottom and have it tuck in. There we go. I have a pocket. This is a 3/4 inch punch from Stampin' Up. It's a circle punch, and I think I should have punched it before I put it in the card, but we can still fit this in. Going for the halfway point. Halfway across the card, halfway up the circle. And gives us a little notch there. So now we're going to pick something that will fit into this pocket. Needs to be something on the larger side. This one didn't fit very well into everything else. Alright. So this one, the font is all over. So we're going to tape the ribbon on the back. And I actually have some ribbon that matches this paper. So this will come out. What we'll do is we'll have a little tab. First we need to stamp another pull tab. Alright, this time we're going to use Alta New Permanent Black. You could use Jet Black or any other black. This is just the first one I had available. Alright. Now, this has quite a bit of room because I'm gonna put a bit of a hole punch here. So again, we're gonna do another 1/8 inch hole. Kind of do it in line. I'm gonna use the scissors to make this into a tag. And we're going to pull out the silver cord again, same one as earlier. Cut a decent length off. This tab is going to be pulled on, so I do want to glue my ribbon together with this extra sticky tape. It's super hard sometimes. You have to release tape off when it's on ribbon. This one came off all right. So, I'm making my little ribbon pull tab. And then normally this would be tied. Again, you're coming in from the back so that when your ribbon crosses over, the clean side is on the front of your tag. Okay. Then we're going to wrap this around the Razzleberry ribbon, kind of like we're tying it shut, even though we know we glued it shut. Did double knot that. And you don't have to worry about gluing down the front because we're going to glue this down to the actual tag with the sentiment, so it'll get glued in that capacity. Alright, so I have my sentiment. I want my pull tag. Sentiment's gonna go in here. You do want one that you can see so that people can tell they're supposed to pull this out. Okay, and I think what we'll do is we'll go from the reverse. No. Alright. kind of go a little off center like that, and it will still fit in the card. I think we have to go higher though. Let's see. So I'm just checking here, this tab needs to fit inside the actual card here. So this is where we want it. And we're gonna need a good amount of that 1/2 inch. Use the extra sticky glue here for sure, because this will be pulled a lot. Make sure it's only on the ribbon. If it gets on the back, you're gonna stick it and it will glue into the pocket and you won't be able to get it out. I'm gonna try to center this, and remember you want to keep the pull tab part on the top. So now it's on. Obviously I'll pull the post-its off before I mail it. And so now we've got a pull tab that'll hang in. So let's say pull, and they can pull this one out. And the beauty of this is that you can actually put, alright, there was a couple I really liked for these. I think these two will also be good. Alright, so these are doors. Alright, so you want everything to fit well. So the beauty of doing it this way is now you get your sentiment on the inside. Then you can put another sentiment behind it. And as long as you can read it when they take it out, and then we can put a sentiment in the front of it as well. So see, you're getting a whole extra sentiment in by doing the pocket, because you got more places to put glue. So I think, do we want to do green? Maybe the pink one. No, I like the green one. Alright, I'm gonna start gluing these in. So I've got this green banner. You don't have to use the banner. I like to have the different, even though it's getting glued, I like having it a little different. I think it adds some fun. And I'm going to keep this pull tab one in though, so that I have a good idea. Alright, so just gluing everything down really carefully. This one still works. We'll center this one. Alright. Now. If you knew what your card base was going to look like first, you could make sure that you match your pen colors across anything that's bilateral like this. So this front one, I'm going to use these two because they have the black glitter pen, and I think that it looks really good next to each other. I don't have any two in the same color pen that each fit on a door, so one of these on this side will be blue glitter pen, and the other side's going to be green. It's still going to look good. Just be a little more cohesive if they were identical. Alright, so now we're gluing the stuff in. I feel like that's kind of a lot of colors for once. Let's put this. I did cut out triangles, and I used them in opposite directions so that they could be stacked, because I thought that would be really fun. Alright, I don't like this empty space. Obviously, I'm not going to turn my sentiment and nothing fits. So if this happens to you, find something that you would like. It's layered, not a big deal. This go about, I'm going to use the Rich Razzleberry. And I do want to keep it on the width of this circle. So we'll do about 3.5 inches. I'm going to do 3.5 inches. I'm not sure how long I want it. I know for sure that I want a 1/2 inch score line. And this is going to open up space in 2 different directions. I'm just measuring on the card. I think I want it to come down to about here. So a little less than 4 3/4. I'm measuring from my folded line. Now, it's okay if it's not exact because we're going to center it and it is rectangular. So again, gonna need really great glue. Now you could use the flip. You could put flip on all of these from that stamp set. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's pretty intuitive that how this card's gonna bend. But if you had something where it wasn't as intuitive, you might want to consider either using an interactive card stamp set or using like just a really nice pen and making a little label. Alright, so put this in here. Okay, now this circle is going to go in. And I do want to center it, and I'm actually going to 1/2 inch corner chomp this. And the answer is yes, it would have been easier to do that if I'd thought about it first, but just give it a finishing touch here and match the rest of the card. Okay, so now we also have this back piece that we can center. Alright, this clover one is the only one that fits. So that's going to be the one I put here. And again, burnish. Alright, our card's going to be a little uneven, but it'll be okay. This is going to be... So this is absolutely getting charged as a package. It doesn't fit as a letter, just so you can see. This will have to go in like a padded envelope. And so we want to lay these out. You know, you could cross them over. And I mean, that's a doable thing because what happens is when people handwrite, they tend to write all over the place like that to make the card look interesting. So I'm going to glue them down like this. This card really isn't going to be able to hold much more in terms of interactive pieces. It'll be too bulky and it'll be too crooked, and you want to try to keep the card level so that it doesn't smash in the mail. So bottom layers first. so let's close this up and let's take a look at this final card. Alright, so this is a You're in Our Thoughts team card. This is also something you could copy and do again for retirement, major milestone birthdays, other events, graduations, basically anything where you have a large group of people that want to sign a card. You know, you can create this and leave spaces for people to sign it in person, or you can do something like what I've done, and you can collect virtual comments from people via email or a text message or something, and then print them out either by hand or with a Cricut, and then use them all throughout the card. So this is a You're in My Thoughts card. It's quite wide. So this is a package. If you are in the US, this card mails like a package. It does not mail like an envelope. It will fit in an envelope, but they will bill you, they'll bill you like a package. So it looks like it's about 3/4 of an inch wide. We have 1/4 inch wide is the maximum here in the States. Alright, so they'll flip it open. There's a pull tab here. And so you've got a sentiment behind it and in the envelope. And of course the post-its are just there for privacy. And then there's some sentiment on front of it. Then they'll pull it out and there's another sentiment in there. Flip open. All these wonderful wishes. Have some gate doors that are comments on both sides. And then a flip up. And we just need to decorate this piece and then it's done. I am actually going to just do some squares with this paper. And these are 1 1/4 inch square hole punches. So I think it's fun to do just a little design like that. It doesn't have to be anything fancy because I really don't want to add any bulk to this card. It's going to be difficult to mail anyway, so this will have to go to the post office and get weighed as a package. And the reason for decorating this with some paper is just to fill that in. It looks a little bit more cohesive, and it is the paper that matches the card deck, so alright guys, and it does sit upright with some challenges, but it will sit upright.
Thank you so much for joining me today in this crafting endeavor. I hope to see you again in my craft room soon. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and leave notifications on so you can be notified when the next video comes out.